Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Apartment 7A. And this is a prequel to Rosemary's Baby, and this is from writer-director Natalie Erica James, who previously did the film Relic that came out in the height of the pandemic back in 2020, a horror film that really was an underappreciated gem about aging and dementia and generational trauma. And this film focuses on a struggling dancer, Terry, who winds up moving into this space after a horrible occurrence where she gets horrifically injured during a performance, ending her promising career. But she tries to revitalize it with the help of the cast of vets, Roman and Minnie. And this whole entire experience, I think the biggest challenge about this film is that it feels so derivative of Rosemary's Baby. It feels like a complete rehash of that story. There's really obnoxious lampshading at moments of like hinting at like, oh, hey, you'll notice this from Rosemary's Baby. And it's just like, okay, we get it. All the way up to its horribly on the nose, like little stinger to set up the original film. You know, the First Omen did the same thing earlier this year where it's like at you and it's just like, okay, we get it. But from taking this out of like the situation where this feels so similar to Rosemary's Baby in terms of general broad strokes, beats and stuff like that, it is a very specific journey of this young woman, Terry, and Julia Gardner is amazing. She's amazing in everything, and she really anchors this film, carries this film in so many different ways. She brings the emotion, just every physical aspect of her performance, and the final scene where she goes into this whole entire dance expression just pulls you in, and James really understands how to craft a scene and bring things in. And Arnaud Vaz-Colomer, who is the cinematographer, there's such great usage of like intimate shots and how it comes up like this in terms of like dancing scenes, and the camera follows the head, and those moments feel so engrossing and dynamic. There's eerie imagery. I do feel like it doesn't 100% work as well because there's some elements of like CGI that kind of take you out of it, but the more practical ones, it's really creepy, and there's good moments of like dropping in hints here and there. The other frustrating thing about this film, though, is that it becomes so on the nose, over explaining things to you in terms of like Rosemary's Baby. It's a slow burn, and you're able to like pick up subtly on certain things until you have the big revealing scene at the end, and this replicates that very closely in many ways, except this has to end differently because like why would the whole movie of Rosemary's Baby work if this one went perfectly to plan? And, if you've watched Rosemary's Baby before, you know a lot of the twists that are supposed to be coming, and it becomes very obvious. And also, the film spells out with exposition so many things for you that you're just like, I feel like this particular film's not really trusting us as an audience. And this is from, like, you have Natalie Erica James, but also Christian White and Skylar James are all writing this as a team, and it feels overwritten in terms of how this is all being portrayed. I do think that most of the performances are really strong. Like, obviously, Gardner, great. Diane Wiest, who plays Minnie this time around, like, is really leaning into, like, the high-pitched voice kind of thing. But it's the subtleties of her performance where you're just like, that's a little uncomfortable. Kevin McNally, Mr. Gibbs from like Pirates, is in this as Roman, and I think he does a really good job as well. Jim Sturgis is this love interest who's running this, like, producing this musical and stuff. I didn't really buy into him and that character. Anytime where it was like leaning into those kinds of things, the film got a little less interesting. But From a technical standpoint, I think there's some things that really work about this film. There's some really tense moments thanks to editing and hard cuts. And you're just like, huh, something's going to happen. I think, like I mentioned, technically I think this film stands out in its own way. It's not the same kind of style that you see in Rosemary's Baby. This does feel more modern despite the fact that it is a period piece. But I do think, like, technically it stands out in ways. I do think that some of the performances, like the key ones, really stand out. I just feel like this film, it feels like a lesser, more overly written version of Rosemary's Baby, and obnoxiously is making you aware how connected these two are. And it makes this story feel so much less engaging and impactful because it feels like it's trying to be another film, but it's not as good as that other film. But those are my thoughts on Apartment 7A. Let me know what you think and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.